ASEAN Center for Energy presents the 7th edition of ASEAN Energy Outlook or AEO7. It complements the APAEC by creating pathways to achieve regional energy targets. This blueprint consists of 7 program areas, which represents the key focus areas of the ASEAN energy sector. Over the years, ASEAN Energy Outlook has evolved to be truly from ASEAN, by ASEAN, to ASEAN. As it incorporates major involvement from all 10 ASEAN member states in every process, AEO7 serves as an official reference for the ASEAN energy landscape. This year, AEO7 features these 4 scenarios. Introducing the latest edition, the Least Cost Optimisation scenario with a technology-neutral approach as it considers all the viable technologies in the region. It also explores ASEAN power grid and battery deployment. Some highlighted findings include renewable share in total primary energy supply is predicted to reach 17.5% by 2025 in ATS, requiring extra efforts to reach regional targets. And energy efficiency is projected to continue its good progress. But with 2.8% point gap from ATS to regional target still needs to be addressed, while renewable share in installed capacity is expected to outperform the 2025 target by 2.9%, even reaching 63.2% in 2050. Moreover, the region will be requiring $160 billion power investment to reach the APAEC target by 2025. Reducing the emission up to 26%. While LCO scenario consistently generate the lowest cost. The outlook also offers various secondary analysis to achieve the regional target and delve into options for strengthening ASEAN's energy resiliency as follows. With everything in one place, AEO7 keeps the region on track by projecting multiple future trajectories against our goal. To learn more about ASEAN Energy Outlook series, please visit our website at aseanenergy.org. ASEAN Center for Energy presents the 7th edition of ASEAN Energy Outlook or AEO7. It complements the APAEC by creating pathways to achieve regional energy targets. This blueprint consists of 7 program areas, which represents the key focus areas of the ASEAN energy sector. Over the years, ASEAN Energy Outlook has evolved to be truly from ASEAN, by ASEAN, to ASEAN. As it incorporates major involvement from all 10 ASEAN member states in every process, AEO7 serves as an official reference for the ASEAN energy landscape. This year, AEO7 features these 4 scenarios. Introducing the latest edition, the Least Cost Optimisation scenario with a technology-neutral approach as it considers all the viable technologies in the region. It also explores ASEAN power grid and battery deployment. Some highlighted findings include renewable share in total primary energy supply is predicted to reach 17.5% by 2025 in ATS, requiring extra efforts to reach regional targets. And energy efficiency is projected to continue its good progress. But with 2.8% point gap from ATS to regional target still needs to be addressed, while renewable share in installed capacity is expected to outperform the 2025 target by 2.9%, even reaching 63.2% in 2050. Moreover, the region will be requiring $160 billion power investment to reach the APAEC target by 2025, reducing the emission up to 26%. While LCO scenario consistently generate the lowest cost. The outlook also offers various secondary analysis to achieve the regional target and delve into options for strengthening ASEAN's energy resiliency as follows. With everything in one place, AEO7 keeps the region on track by projecting multiple future trajectories against our goal. To learn more about ASEAN Energy Outlook series, please visit our website at aseanenergy.org.
Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today at the AEO7 webinar series in the title of the security of the natural gas and coal and how ASEAN should face future challenges. So today we are happy to, delighted actually, to be part with you, and probably because you are here. Previously, we already shared our introduction video, what is actually the ASEAN Energy Outlook, but I think it would be good for everyone that just joined now to also watch it. So may I ask our colleague to play it one more time as a part of the introductions.
ASEAN Center for Energy presents the 7th edition of ASEAN Energy Outlook, or AEO7. It complements the APAEC by creating pathways to achieve regional energy targets. This blueprint consists of 7 program areas, which represents the key focus areas of the ASEAN energy sector. Over the years, ASEAN Energy Outlook has evolved to be truly from ASEAN, by ASEAN, to ASEAN. As it incorporates major involvement from all 10 ASEAN member states in every process, AEO7 serves as an official reference for the ASEAN energy landscape. This year, AEO7 features these 4 scenarios. Introducing the latest edition, the Least Cost Optimisation scenario with a technology-neutral approach as it considers all the viable technologies in the region. It also explores ASEAN power grid and battery deployment. Some highlighted findings include renewable share in total primary energy supply is predicted to reach 17.5% by 2025 in ATS, requiring extra efforts to reach regional targets. And energy efficiency is projected to continue its good progress. But with 2.8% point gap from ATS to regional target still needs to be addressed, while renewable share in installed capacity is expected to outperform the 2025 target by 2.9%, even reaching 63.2% in 2050. Moreover, the region will be requiring 160 billion USD power investment to reach the APAEC target by 2025. Reducing the emission up to 26%. While LCO scenario consistently generate the lowest cost. The outlook also offers various secondary analysis to achieve the regional target and delve into options for strengthening ASEAN's energy resiliency as follows. With everything in one place, AEO7 keeps the region on track by projecting multiple future trajectories against our goal. To learn more about ASEAN Energy Outlook series, please visit our website at aseanenergy.org.
Yeah, so that's it. That's the introductions of the ASEAN Energy Outlook, or the AEO7. And then in this discourse, we actually have published this, and then it has been actually endorsed by the Minister of Energy in ASEAN member states during the event in September. And we are actually delighted to share. If you haven't actually downloaded or read our 7 ASEAN Energy Outlook, is actually free. There are 2 options, the full report, and we also have just published this month on the executive summary, so that by just 3 minutes you would understand what is actually the dynamics of ASEAN energy development as well as trajectory. So I would like to invite you. You can actually scan the barcode there or just type it in your website, go.aseanenergy.org/AEO7, or for the executive summary is go.aseanenergy.org/AEO7 AXUM. And that before we go, I think it would be great to hear actually whether you already read our 7 ASEAN Energy Outlook or not. So I prepared 2 questions of quiz. So I would like to ask you to answer these 2 questions for us before we move on to the first sessions of the scene setting and then the panel session. So allow me to ask my colleague to pop up the questions, the first questions that we have. Okay, so the first question is related to natural gas. What will be the share of natural gas in 2050 under the total primary energy supply under the APS scenario? So probably if you haven't actually read the report, you wouldn't actually familiar with what is actually APS scenario. But let me give you a hint that APS scenario is the most stringent modeling scenario for with the highest stringent for energy efficiency and renewable energy as well. So there are 4 choices. Please choose your answers carefully. I'll wait for 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, can we show the results? Oh my God, I'm glad that a lot of people actually get it right. So yes, it is 24.6%. So congratulations for those who get it right. And then we are going to have the next question. Okay, so the next question is almost the same, but it's just a different resources, which is coal right now. So there are 4 choices: 7.5, 20.5, 34.2, and then 44.8. What do you guys think on the answers, guys? Remember, it is under the most stringent scenario. Okay, in 3, 2, 1, show the results. Again, thank you so much. I'm very happy that a lot of you actually get it right. So 7.5% is actually the answers. So looking at the feasibility, the trajectory says that the share of coal would be very minimum. I think it would be great to also talk about how do we want to transitions, and also the fact that the study actually recognized that without any significant discoveries or additions to the existing productions, infrastructures, and with the expected rate of utilizations of fossil fuel, ASEAN actually could become a net importer of gas by 2025 and then coal 2039. I mean, the years is almost there. Like it's only 2 years more to 2025, which is like the closest one. It's already December of 2022. So I think it would be great for us to actually talk with the expert themselves. And without further ado, I would like to invite our lead modeler of the ASEAN Energy Outlook this year to share her slides and to explain a little bit more and then elaborate more about what is actually the findings and what is actually related to natural gas and coal security. So Almi is also an energy modeling and policy planning department technical officer. And so without further ado, I would like to invite Ms. Almi to share her screen and then tell us a little bit more about the security of natural gas and coal and how ASEAN should actually face this phenomenon and trajectory. Ms. Alni, are you ready? Can you put it on the slideshow, please? And then please unmute yourself as well.
Can you see it clearly now, Amira?
Yes, it is. So thank you so much, Miss Alni. The time is yours.
Yes, thank you so much, Amira. And good afternoon, everyone. Those who are able to come to this webinar. So I'm Alnida Moral, also a Modeling and Policy Planning Officer and ACE. So to set the scene, I would like to present this topic, Navigating Energy Transitions in ASEAN, which is also based on the results from the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook. So some of you may have seen this slide before, but I just want to have all of us a recap on what has been actually the significance of AEO7, the methodology that we had actually used to be able to come up with the insights that we had presented in the model, and also the recommendations that we had indicated and consolidated in the report. So as Amira said, we were able to launch the ASEAN Energy Outlook 7 in the 40th ASEAN Ministers on Energy meeting on Cambodia last September. And the AEO report was actually one of the crucial report of the ASEAN Center for Energy that supports the APAEC initiatives. It aims to create pathways to address the challenges of the ASEAN regions, which is to also establish settings of the ASEAN energy landscape, mitigating the challenges that we had as a region in terms of energy security, accessibility, affordability, inclusivity, and sustainability. And to do this, we are actually fortunate to have support of our AMS focal points. We had been collaborating with ASEAN member states on learning about the specific strategies and policy initiatives on each country's, asking them on the available data as well, so that we can be able to generate this integrated model on demand analysis and transformation analysis, allowing us to create a model that is able to develop or project the consumptions of fuels, and like the one that will be presented later, the net import-export balance of the region. And aside from that, what is good thing about this model is that we were able also to have secondary analysis that is capable of determining the GHG emissions of the pathways that we can actually took as a region, and also on the social cost of energy, job creations, and biofuel land use. So all of them is not possible without the help of ASEAN focal points as well to develop. So later on, in the next slide, I'm gonna show you the multiple features that we had considered in the model. And aside from those results that we have gotten from those scenarios, we also have thematic insights in the model that allows us to have supporting recommendations in view of grid integrations of fossil fuels and its role in the future, improve industrial efficiencies, renewable energy promotions, financing, and energy transitions, which is relevant nowadays, and nuclear power. And with those results and those thematic chapters that we also have gotten from the expert, we were able to consolidate some recommendations and improvements that we hope that the region can also apply within each jurisdiction. So this has been the scenarios that we were able to adopt for this specific outlook. We are looking at the projections from 2021 to 2050. The first three scenarios are actually been here since AEO6, which is the baseline. Baseline is defined, or like the growth rate pattern was kept at a constant level of the historical last year. So we were just like treading with the historical behaviors of the consumers, and with that assumptions, we were able to predict what could be, forecast what could have been the fuel consumptions and those particular fuels. We also have the AMS target scenarios, wherein we assume what if the national energy targets was actually satisfied or met with this specific years or a specific period. And then we have the APAEC target scenario, or the ATS, which Amira has already mentioned earlier, the most stringent one, wherein we actually model what if the regional targets particularly on RE and energy intensity reduction was actually met. It is crucial to have this ATS and APS scenarios actually, because it would allow us to determine what could have been the gap of the national policies to the regional policies, and help us develop some recommendation that would actually support on reducing this gap, or at least eradicating this gap as a whole. But in addition to these three scenarios that we had previously since AEO6, we also had added as an improvement in AEO7 the least cost optimization, wherein we had determined the least cost power sector dispatch to attain the APAEC regional target. So yeah, I hope, and I'm glad that during the quiz, I saw that most of you were able to read also the report and was able to answer most of the question correctly. So I thank everyone for that. So to set the scene, I believe that there is no better way to do it, but to actually establish first what has been the expected demand and supply forecast for the region, and how each of the fuel types were actually contributing to this future energy demand. So shown here is the total final energy consumption projections by fuel across the scenarios. So we are actually expecting that our energy demand would triple in 2050 from the 2020 level in the baseline. So we will now be reaching 1,282 MTOE of energy demand by 2050, and oil would still make up the majority of this contribution at 47.4% based on the baseline scenarios. It is followed by electricity at 20.3%, coal at 14.5%, and bioenergy at 9.2%. So as you can see here, when it comes to energy consumptions, the oil and coal would still remain to be a crucial part of the energy sources that is fueling our end-use sectors. So an ATS, wherein the region is actually applying national energy efficiency measures, we are seeing that this specific energy consumptions can actually be reduced by 39.6 in 2050. And if we do further reduction through the attainment of a APAEC target, we can reduce it more to 53.7%. So later in the next slide, you can actually see which of these policies are applied into what sectors, and what these specific policies impact on those specific sectors as well. So moving on. So this is just to show you what has been the sectors that were actually contributing most to these end-use sectors. So as expected, and probably also on the country settings, this might also be the case, that in a region, in the baseline scenario, the industry and transportation actually are the two largest consumers of the energy and in the end-use sectors. So industry is expected to reach 42.5%, and transportation is 38.4% in 2050. And seeing this, we are actually looking at the possibility of having some energy reduction strategies happening on the industry and transport to reduce their consumptions, be it in the form of EV targets, MEPS, on electrical equipment labeling for industries and building. But in general, we are seeing that stronger policies also on clean cooking and fuel economy and mass transport are needed to attain the regional target. So to further understand the last statement, let me show you what has been the outlook on the residential energy use. So in baseline, we saw that residential demand is expected to reach 85.45 MTOE in 2050, which is actually a 1.32 increase from the 2020 level. We saw that the residential sector is a highly electrified sector, although we still saw that cooking would still be the highest share on demand, followed by refrigerations, air conditionings. And because of this, we are seeing the increased access to clean cooking as a measure to increase the energy efficiency of our residential and reduce the overall energy consumptions. And with this, we note that for rural areas, for examples, it will be a shift now from the use of traditional biomass into the use of LPG, whereas on urban areas, it will be now from the use of LPGs to a use of more efficient ones, such as electric stoves or natural gas stoves. So now moving on, the transport. So transport has been one of the two highest consumers, and it is expected to increase to 3.68 times from the 2020 level. So oil would still be accounting the highest share at 91.4% of TFEC for transport, and followed by biofuels because of the biofuel mandate, natural gas because of the promotions of CNG buses, and electricity due to EV. But we still saw that despite these AMS policies, particularly on biofuel, EV, and fuel economy, the reduction would still not be enough to reach the regional target. And we actually saw that the policies on mass transportations, higher fuel economy in alignment to the ASEAN fuel economy roadmap would also be helpful into reducing particularly our gasoline and diesel usage. We are seeing 72% and 59% on average, but this specific estimates would definitely not be possible if the implementations would also be lagging with our targets. Next, on the commercial. So commercial demand is expected to increase by 3.14 times from the 2020 level. So we are now reaching 92 MTOE. So similar to residential sector, commercial is also seen as a highly electrified sector. But aside from that, we are also seeing that it is another consumer of oil, particularly for heating purposes. Good thing about commercial facilities is that the shares of facilities, for example, retail, hospital, offices, and hotel, isn't really that far from each other. That we saw that energy saving efforts on one particular facilities, if applied to whole facilities, would actually do a lot of energy savings. Not just on electricity, but also on the use of oil. But still, with regards to regional target, we are seeing that the need to double the current energy saving efforts in all national policies to be able to achieve the regional target. As for the industry demand, if you would remember earlier, industry is also one of the highest consumers of energy consumptions in the region. So it is expected to increase by 3.61 times from 2020 levels. So industry is actually a sector that is highly dependent on coal. So something that we can actually note. And on a baseline, it is consuming 34% of the TFEC for industry. And this actually poses an opportunity for decarbonization efforts such as carbon capture, biomass co-firing, and the use of hydrogen. Good thing about this in the region is that these specific efforts are already being explored. Probably one thing that we should look forward in the future is the actual implementation, or at least the promotion, the increased promotion and deployment of these specific emerging technologies on industries. Because in general, the coal, for example, isn't just used in the sector as an energy source, but some sectors are also using coal as a raw materials, which could actually also another thing that might impact the security of coal in the region. So another thing that we did in the modeling of the AEO7 is also to disaggregate the subsectors that is contributing to the industries. We are actually seeing non-metallic mineral as the highest contributor to the energy consumption. So non-metallic minerals consist of cement plants, and we are also seeing some shares from chemicals, iron and steel, and mining. So the importance of having this data disaggregated is that it allows us to determine which is actually the particular industries that we can do some energy saving efforts, and that could actually do a lot of impact for the whole industry. But one thing that we are noting actually is the high share of non-specified, which is actually energy consumptions that is difficult to determine whether this is used for iron and steel or this is used for pulp and paper. And we actually also calls for the need to determine the disaggregation of this non-specified. But yeah, this is now the TPES, which is also in the quiz earlier. But I think this values here is focused more on the baseline, which is in terms on the coal and gas is the more conservative one, because should we didn't be able to achieve our targets, the baseline actually provides us the maximum quantity or shares that we can expect to be taken from coal and gas. So we are expecting our energy supply to increase by 4 times by 2050. And the oil, in agreement with the TFEC, is still making up the largest share at 43.1%, followed by gas, coal, and renewable energy at 11.9%. So as you can see here, the projections based on energy supply is giving us a major idea that should we lock onto to proceeding with the energy transition strategies that we had in place in our particular countries or in the region as a whole, they could be, our mix would definitely be a large share of oil, gas, and coal. So energy, when it comes to energy security, this is really something that we should already prepared about even now. So in ATS, the good thing is that national efficiency measure can actually reduce our demand by 23% in 2050, and this would definitely have a huge impact on our fossil fuel usage as well. And achieving a PAEC target, our regional target, can further reduce it to 33%. This is the new scenarios that we had, the LCO scenarios. And as what I've explained in the first 2 slides, the LCO actually gets the dispatch or determines the dispatch that would provide the least cost for the power sectors. And as you can see here, we are actually looking at a higher TPES reduction compared to the APAEC target. So this is just a monitoring of that attainment of the RE and EI reduction target. So we are seeing that if we were able to pursue the national targets of RE, we can reach up to 17.5 by 2025, but that would still be 5.5% lower than national targets. So if we increase our biofuel mandate, reduce our fossil fuel, reduce the dispatch from fossil fuel plants and coupling it with the prioritized RE dispatch, we can be able to meet our regional RE target. So when it comes to EI reduction, on the other hand, we can just reach up to negative 29.2% reduction by 2025, which is actually 2.8% short than our regional target, which is 32%. So we are seeing that if we enhance residential cooking, the one that I mentioned earlier, so with this particular scenario, for these particular policies, we are actually expecting higher LPG and nat gas consumptions. Other than that, EV targets, fuel economy improvements, doubling EE efforts, mass transport. This particular strategies were actually seen as crucial for the RE, for attaining the regional RE targets. So this is just to share what could have been the share for the power sector. So we are expecting electricity generation in the sector to in the region to increase from 1,126 gigawatts to 3,388 gigawatts in baseline, and that if we don't achieve, or we just lean into our historical behaviors and of dispatch, we can actually expect our coal to dominate the mix at 42.8%, natural gas at 28.7%, and good thing we have here hydropower as one of the larger share at 16.6%. So but with RE policies, we can actually expect our coal share to decrease by 21% to 9%, which is also in our quiz earlier, while hydropower would then take up the deficit that was led by our reduced coal share. So hydropower would increase by 26% in ATS and 34% in APS in 2050. So this is just the right side was just to show you what has been the impact when we implement the LCO. So I think this particular trends is also apparent in these days, given the concerns on some on the prices of natural gas. So we are actually seeing in our previous modeling of the LCO that natural gas growth might actually exceed the growth in coal in the future, and that if we are going to implement the LCO scenario or the least cost optimization scenarios, that we are actually seeing more shifting to the use of coal rather than the use of natural gas for base load. In terms of renewables, we are seeing hydro and biomass, and also percentages of geothermal, wind, and solar. So now we are down to our last slide, and this particular insight actually sets the motivations of why we actually have this webinar, because with those specific scenarios and those particular usage of coal and natural gas and oil, we actually saw that the ASEAN will become net importer of natural gas by 2025 and coal by 2039. And we saw that if we actually be able to do our RE and EE targets, we can just push back our importation of natural gas by 1 year. But on the good side, we can have a good coal securities even after 2050. So I myself is so excited as well to have the insights from our experts here into answering these questions that we are all here for. how ASEAN should face the future challenges on natural gas and coal. So I think that ends my slides. So thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Almi, for your presentation. It was very enlightening. I think there are a lot of new insights, and then there are also some things that to touch upon the several part of the natural gas and how the projections and some other things. And we can actually talk a little bit more on the panel session because we already have several experts. May I check with Almi to turn down the screen share so that right now I will invite all of the speakers, including panelists, and then Almi, and then our moderator as well, to turn on your camera because we are going to take a group photo for now. So may I check with Mr. Adi to turn on your camera, and then I would like to ask our tech team to support and screenshot this. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to invite our countdown for group photo in 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think one more. May I check with the team? Can we take another one? Or will we still processing? Okay, let's take another one. In 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Almi, and then everyone's. And right now, we are going to directly go to the panel sessions that we have. The panel sessions actually featured 4 different experts that would actually talk a little bit more about actually why and how ASEAN should face these future challenges. So without further ado, I would like to relay this opportunity to Mr. Adityo Gilangaskoro to lead the sessions.
Sure, Amira. Thank you very much. May I check if my voice clear enough now?
It's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very happy today, Amira, and all participants. Good afternoon to all participants. I'm Adityo Gilangaskoro from ASEAN Center for Energy. I'm a research analyst for the power, fossil fuel, alternative energy, and storage. Yeah, I'm very glad to be in this discussion because we are we are having 4 experts that will answer the question on the security of coal and natural gas in ASEAN. Together with me, I have Ms. Anjana Yandrudi. She is from ASCOPE. ASCOPE is the ASEAN Council of Petroleum. Is a council that consists of national state oil companies in the region in ASEAN. Then we also have Mr. Helmi Zaihan. He is a part of the representative from AFOC. AFOC is the ASEAN Forum on Coal. That particularly will answer the question on coal. And then we have an expert from ASEAN. He is an energy economist, Dr. Alisius Joko Purwanto. And lastly, we have our lead modeler of ASEAN Energy Outlook 7, which is Ms. Almi Dengol. Thank you very much for all panelists for joining this discussion. I think we will have a fruitful discussion today, having all of you in this session. I think without further ado, I would like to invite each panelist to introduce themselves and also to respond what should be the future, the current topic of the future coal and natural gas. As in previous session, there is ASEAN will be the net importer for natural gas in 2035 and also will be for coal in 2039. So I would like to invite Ms. Anjana to introduce yourself and also to perhaps give some thoughts regarding this topic. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, ASEAN Center for Energy, our representative, and also our participants today. My name is Anjana Yanudi, a senior analyst from PTT Public Company Limited, Thailand. On behalf of ASCOPE Gas and Utilities Task Force, Thank you very much for your invitations. It's my great pleasure to join for the ASEAN Energy Outlook webinar for today. Here in my view, with the changing of new energy landscape and global megatrend, ASEAN region will face many challenges on gas and LNG and also on co-sustainable development. For these reasons, energy transition is critical to address current and also future challenge on gas and LNG and also all the energy sector. The need for change needs to be clear for switching to another or switching to sustainable energy source. However, I believe that natural gas is still remain high important to forward generations sector during this energy shift toward more cleaner energy and renewable. Gas and LNG support as infrastructure and also country regulatory reform are critical enablers. For today, I hope my view and my perspective will benefit for our discussion.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Anjana, for the introduction from your side. Now I'd like to pass to the second panelist, Mr. Helmi Zaihan from AFOC. Please.
Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. First of all, I would like to say thank you to ACE for the invitation for this webinar. I am honored to participate in this webinar. My name is Helmi. I am from the Energy Commission of Malaysia, currently reporting to the Electricity Market Operations Unit. Before I begin, I would like to apologize on the behalf of the AFOC's chairman and also the AFOC focal point because they couldn't be here today due to other commitments. And also, I would like to congratulate ACE for publishing the ASEAN Energy Outlook. It proves that ASEAN has the capability to produce world-class outlook, as well as to learn together with the other ASEAN member states. And this outlook can also be used for the ASEAN member states to harmonize and enhance their own energy outlook in the future. And also this paves the way for the AMS to further enhance their collaboration with ACE in the future. I also concur with the scene-setting presentation by Ms. Alni de Morel. Coal is very important to ASEAN. Despite the decarbonization and financial pressures, we need coal to provide baseload electricity, which is crucial for the AMS economic development. However, the question that I want everyone to think about today is how can we use coal efficiently and integrate it with technologies such as CCT and CCUS, especially when financing is a big factor. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Halim, for the introduction. Now I would like to turn to Dr. Joko from AEO.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, all. First of all, thank you for ACE for having invited me to this very important webinar. And again, also congratulations to ACE for having published the ASEAN Energy Outlook 7. And I was glad to also being part of the reviewer of the Outlook. I guess you have reached a very important achievement, which is very useful for the region. And I'm Joko. I'm from the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia area. We are not an energy institute per se, but we are more of a economic think tank for the East Asia Summit countries, which is 10 ASEAN countries plus 6 other countries. And area in the energy domain also, we are publishing 2 yearly energy outlook and energy saving potential of the ES country. So the last one we published in 2020, and we will be publishing the new one in 2022. I hope that the result can be complementary with the ASEAN Energy Outlook 7 published by ACE. So in this webinar, I would like to just make some small contribution from the point of view of natural gas. And I guess like what Ms. De Morel have mentioned, that ASEAN within the next decade will become a natural gas importer. For me myself, my opinion is that the natural gas importer is not a negative issue. It's a fact that we need to accept and to manage in ASEAN region. However, we see that the roles of natural gas in ASEAN can be divided into two aspects. First, to provide access to clean and modern use of energy. Natural gas is considered to be the cleanest fossil fuel, and its price has been relatively affordable, and the needed technology to use gas have been existing at affordable prices for a long time. Electricity, clean cooking, and clean transportation are among the use of natural gas. And secondly, in the longer term, natural gas can be considered as the fossil fuel sources that can be used as flexible baseload that will facilitate the boost of renewable electricity. And in much more longer term, we can hope that natural gas can also be facilitator for the penetration of hydrogen, not only by co-firing in the power plant, but also in terms of infrastructures, ports, and terminals. And therefore, natural gas should play a crucial important role in the energy transition in ASEAN. The big question is that we will discuss today is also how to become a smart natural gas importing region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Joko, for the insightful thought regarding this topic. Now, last we have Alni Damral, Ms. Alni Damral as the lead moderator of the AEO7 itself. Alni, please.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Adit, also for allowing AEO7 to be a part also of this panel sessions, because we also can get to ask or to relate also with the panelists about how we can actually also move forward, probably also thinking on how we can develop our future energy outlooks with their perspective in mind. But yeah, I think in general, in the scene setting, as I mentioned earlier, is that if we actually have continued the use our historical behaviors on our usage of coal and natural gas, that we are definitely going to import natural gas and coal in the near future. And I would also like echo what has been Mr. Zaizan mentioned, that a coal crucial when it comes to maintaining the baseload of the regions. And I would also like echo what has been Pajoko said, that natural gas would actually be necessary also as we transitions into energy transitions. And what now, like right now, what is actually enlightening to me is what Pajoko said, that this importation of natural gas isn't actually a bad thing. And yeah, I also look forward later on how we can actually make or transition. Make this importations of natural gas something that is like less risky and more realistic when it comes to region.
Yes, thank you very much, Alan, for your thoughts on this topic. I think before we moving on, I would like to remind all participants that we will have a Q&A session in the last of this discussion. So if you have some question that you want to ask our panelists, feel free to type there on the Q&A box in this Zoom meeting. Okay, thank you very much for all participants for the introduction and also for the initial thoughts regarding this topic. So I would like, before we jump in more specifically, I would like just to have a general question, perhaps starting regarding the current condition of natural gas and coal in this region. I would like to pass this question first to Ms. Anchana. What is the current condition of natural gas in the region, and what is the current export-import in natural gas, and perhaps also touch upon regarding the current conflict about Russia and Ukraine, and how is it affect actually to the energy supply in this region, Ms. Anchana?
Yes. I will start from the impact of the Russian-Ukraine invasions. I think the Russian-Ukraine invasions and also the energy crisis are the pre-assumptions and also the effect to global gas and LNG. These This will put the high LNG demand growth during this period because some European countries switched to use LNG in replace pipe gas from Russia. I would say that LNG supply in global LNG supply and also LNG supply also to other regions might still shortage in the next 5 years due to the delay of LNG liquefaction, FID, and also LNG pipe. I think LNG price will still high in the high level for 2 years from 2026 and also 2027. When we look at conditions of the ASEAN gas industry, I think for the nature of gas and LNG industry are at the different stage of development. The development of new regasifications capacity, domestic pipeline, city gas network of gas power plants across the region or across the ASEAN will be required to unlock the latent gas and LNG demand. For Thailand, and also for other ASEAN countries, gas for power incremental cost and due to LNG price at this moment will slow the transition of gas to coal. Additionally, gas field are increasingly mature resource is limited and international oil company interest in the regional exploration and production is falling. However, during this period, the warmer climate than usual, especially for the first quarter this year, it should be the winter, but in some countries, especially in Thailand, it's maybe ASEAN gas and LNG demand didn't change and still have a high stock level and don't show any sign of increasing or spot activities. For example, we have seen the weaker gas LNG demand in Thailand during the rainy season and also in this period. These are the reasons why the ASEAN government for each country needs to create the right set of regulations and also pricing framework to facilitate the better use of gas. In terms of to answer the question, what does the export-import condition look like for this period? In my view, ASEAN might be the net importer of gas after the year 2030 until I think we'll still for another 2 years and until the mid 2020 temporarily boost domestic productions, but longer term production decline drive LNG demand growth after 30. I think after the year 2030, there are some room for the uncontracted gas and LNG to create for the new LNG player in the regions. Yeah, for another impact on the ASEAN gas industry, I think ASEAN country might face some key challenges on gas and LNG. First, near-term risk to LNG due to the high global price. ASEAN remain still central to global LNG demand growth, but high level on LNG spot price are the major challenge for country. For example, for the Thailand case, for power generations need to be switching from LNG to other alternative fuel that have like lower cost for power generations, and maybe some country look for more renewable energy and for future energy like hydrogen or ammonia. Yeah, the second challenge is going in electrifications. I think the fuel switching and policy push drive gas demand growth is maybe the positive for the ASEAN gas demand. The third thing is coal to gas switching in response to environmental concern is maybe increase in natural gas usage. The fourth is for this challenge, ASEAN gas supply have peaked in the face of declining E&P activity. LNG will offset the declining domestic production to cleaner energy in response to the policy on carbon neutrality. And lastly, petrol market liberalizations, increasing the competition on gas market is maybe very important for all ASEAN countries to be developed. In conclusions, current ASEAN gas and LNG industry face constraint on demand growth due to the high energy price for the short term. I believe that the rebound is expected as price soften and energy transitions start to take hold. Gas demand go across all sectors and gas sales up to meet the soaring energy demand in the future and support the transition away from coal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Angela, for very comprehensive explanation for natural gas condition in ASEAN. Yes, agree that demand will be increasing significantly, and we need to have a strategy on how to maintain the security of the natural gas. And then I think we have an explanation on natural gas, so I would like to hear also what the current condition about coal. And I think the best one to answer is Mr. Helmi Zaihan. Please, Mr. Helmi.
Okay, coal is crucial to ASEAN. That is a fact that cannot be denied, especially in the power generation industry in countries like Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, and Vietnam. However, we cannot discount the fact that coal mining provides jobs for thousands of miners, especially in countries like Indonesia, where economic spillage from the coal industry is enjoyed by nearby communities and helps build city and township. To show how important coal is to ASEAN, we even has our own coal center of excellence in Indonesia, where research on coal can be conducted. The AMS can also learn from each other's experience and enhance collaboration when it comes to coal, especially when integrating the technologies such as CCT and CCUS. In the case of Malaysia, for example, our installed capacity for electricity, 12,000 megawatt, comes from coal, and about 60% of electricity generation comes from coal. 60% of our coal supply comes from Indonesia, 8 to 10% come from Russia, and others from Australia and South Africa. The Russian conflict has definitely made things difficult for us, especially for Malaysia, which is the net coal importer, where we need to fight for coal from countries like China, Japan, Korea, etc. And then we have to compete with them where they can buy coal at much higher prices. So as everyone might have known, this year coal reached an all-time high price of $400 USD per ton. And this price increase in coal will directly increase the generation cost. And this generation cost of electricity will have to be passed down to the end users. This is just something that the AMS has to think about, because this will directly increase the cost of living. And finally, I think even the coal price is high right now, it's coming down at the end of the year. And we do expect that coal price will stabilize next year and coming into 2024. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Helmi, very important information mentioning that coal is increasing, the price of coal is increasing, so there will be affect the electricity price as well. Thank you very much for the explanation on that. So having on about the current condition of natural gas and coal, then I would like to pass the question to the lead modeler of this study. Just wondering how the fossil fuel will be play a role in the next decade, considering there will be a movement more on the energy transition.
So thank you, Mas. Probably I'll build upon the answer of Mr. Zayan earlier, that the reason why we also need fossil fuel when it comes to our energy needs.
Miss Alni,
Ali, sorry. Yeah.
I cannot hear you.
Just
Hello,
yeah.
can you hear me, Mas?
Yeah, your voice quite low.
Hello,
Yes, yes.
better? Sorry.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, if I can just revert, your question is how do you see the role of fossil? So yeah, I probably, it is also in addition to what I have mentioned in the scene settings, right? That the reason actually that we are still kind of dependent on the use of coal, for example, in natural gas, is because we also aiming not just to achieve the energy security of the region, but also the energy affordability as well. As you know, as a region, we are working towards increasing the energy access, not just electrification, but also on clean cooking. And building onto that answers, for example, for electrifications, we must make sure that all of the population can also afford the electricity price that we are uh, that we are providing to them. For example, in the regions, the best thing is to actually make use of the resources that are available to us, like what Mr. Zaihan has mentioned earlier, that because like coal, for example, is available to Indonesia or Vietnam, for examples, and it has been supporting some communities as well. And if we were actually going to transition, there might be also a barrier with regards to that, because some of communities would also be affected, and also like also adapting these new technologies as well would also be would also make our electricity price even higher. But yeah, I think it would be actually a balance that, for example, since the third part of the energy trilemma, actually I'm talking about energy trilemma, is actually environmental sustainability as well, that even if we made use of our fossil fuels, the one that is indigenous into our regions, that we are also doing our best to make the productions of electricity, the productions of energy less emission intensive, like as you remember earlier, Ms. Ainchana, Pajoko, Mr. Zaihan has already also incorporated some of the efforts that the industries or the policymakers are doing, like for example introducing carbon captures, co-firing, and also like in industry, we all know that industry would still be high reliant on fossil fuel, because the heating requirement of the industry would still be difficult to electrify. And so on natural gas side, the productions of hydrogen is also something that we are looking forward. So I am not seeing yet that I am still seeing that with this energy transitions, that we actually fully eradicate the use of fossil fuels, because they are still an important aspect into our development. But I'm seeing that with this energy transition, we are actually reducing the emissions that we are actually deriving from these technologies. So yeah, I think that is my point, Mas.
Yes, thank you very much. Agree that fossil fuel is still very important for our development, particularly here in ASEAN. So, Pak Joko, hearing that the fossil fuel is very important for our future development, are you aware there's what current policies or support from the government that are implemented to ensure the supply of natural gas in the future? The natural gas is also the fuel for energy transition. So, do you have any policies that is being implemented in this region?
Well, thank you, Pak Adityo. So I guess most of the countries in ASEAN are realizing that the region will become importer, as the ASEAN Energy Outlook has also predicted. And I guess producing countries like Indonesia and Malaysia are now currently consolidating its production and looking for strategies to support the region, and then also their natural domestic demand, and then for export. But I guess they also see some limitation of its reserves, and also predicted some in the next 1 or 2 decades that their production will be significantly reduced. The thing is that now, I think since the last decade, ASEAN countries have started to import natural gas in the form of LNG for sure. Thailand started in 2011, and then Singapore, Malaysia followed that, Indonesia as well, and Myanmar in 2020 has started to import LNG, and Vietnam and Cambodia will also following the path. I guess from the policy point of view, we see that the government, such as in Philippines or in Vietnam, they are promulgating regulations on LNG standardization, on facility standardization, as well as providing some regulations to ease investors to do business, to invest in LNG facilities in the countries. For example, in the Philippines, there are now like 7 LNG terminal projects that should be in operation between this year and 2025. And Vietnam, which is also a self-sufficient natural gas producer countries, but they also estimate that they will reach depletion of their reserve in the next decade, and they already have 5 pipeline systems, but they also have strategy to have to continue with development of upstream facilities and then terminals up to 2035. And Vietnam, for example, also target to reach 1/4 of its power generation share produced by natural gas or by LNG. And Indonesia, for example, also since 2014 prioritize LNG and coal to minimize the use of oil, and Indonesia is developing its upstream Tangguh expansion and Masala site to be exploited, and small-scale LNG terminals to be built in the islands. And the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources of Indonesia promulgated, I think, earlier this year, the plan to switch 32 diesel-fired power plants in the remote areas to be switched into natural gas. And yeah, countries like Myanmar, Cambodia, and Vietnam are following the trend or the strategy to import natural gas by LNG. The thing is that with the current situation of high price, it is we see also some risk that those investment, those facilities have been built by the countries, as well as with the cooperation with the producing LNG are at risk, because the price of LNG is currently quite high, and then those assets risk to get stranded in the future. So I guess what we have now currently is strategies and policies at country levels, and those are like sporadic or spread apart from, I mean, like not at regional level. So what we need is 2 levels of discussion or consultation. First at ASEAN level to coordinate between consumer and producer at ASEAN level. Of course, producer means currently Indonesia and Malaysia, and then the rest of ASEAN. And at the second level, ASEAN as an importing region in the future need to talk with producer countries in the world. So, for example, in comparison to what European Union has done to deal with this crisis, as ASEAN countries or Asian countries are not don't have such benefits in terms of regional diplomacy. For example, European Union have been able to get almost all of the LNG cargoes into their ports, but unfortunately, their regasification facilities were not ready, but all the cargoes have been swarming to Europe. At the other side, like we have seen that South Asia, like India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, they are deprived from getting LNG cargoes, and those situations are not sustainable. I mean, for all the developing countries, and this risk can also be seen to happen in ASEAN in the future. And we see that some cargoes from Indonesia and Malaysia have been delivering LNG to France or to Europe, which is, as we can see, not that optimal and not that sustainable from the point of view of developing countries. So I think those 2 kind of discussion need to be done urgently. First, between consumer and producer in ASEAN, and secondly, between ASEAN and the rest of the exporting or producing countries. I think strengthen joint investment between producer and consumers at ASEAN level or between ASEAN and other regions should be achieved urgently. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this suggestion. I mean, very detailed explanation on the current policies implemented, and also very insightful recommendation to strengthen the communication among ASEAN members and also outside the region. Very important point that you mentioned. And I think having known the current policy that have been implemented, I was just wondering perhaps the current, perhaps if there's any company level strategies in facing this challenge. Perhaps I would go to Ms. Anchana regarding what the strategy is on company level on how to ensuring the energy security. We are now looking for other players for that outside the region to tap in our region, or are we able to provide from our own supply? And also, what would be the future impact on that more importing fuel to the region on price of natural gas itself? So, Ms. Anchana, let me just.
Yes, for answer the questions outside the region. As my guest, I will answer the yes. I do believe that the player outside view ASEAN as a market for the strategy of government level to maintain the security of gas in the future for the ASEAN, especially for the ASEAN gas security. In terms of the government policy for Thailand, I will give the example for the case in Thailand, and also other ASEAN should have for Thailand have put itself among the world leader nations on greenhouse gas reductions, attaching the list to carbon neutrality in the year 2050 and also net zero emissions by the year 2065. Thai government policy and constitution law for the natural gas in the current and future energy mix as the country energy ambitions to establish itself as regional LNG hub. And also natural gas is also central to the development of national policy covering energy security, economic developments, and also reducing of greenhouse gas emissions by 30% by the year of 2030, and also used as a transition fuel to a cleaner energy, for example, for renewable energies. The new power development plan formed at the year to the year 2037 aim to support of natural gas to reduce the air pollution. It prioritizes the exploration and productions of domestic natural gas from the Gulf of Thailand to maintain the productions, and also used for the industry reaching about by the year 2037. The Thailand Ministry of Energy will reform and liberalize natural gas market to attract new players, both in the national to increase the build experience of the entrepreneur, especially for LNG import, and also transport support the development of the trading hub in the ASEAN. For this view, a more regulatory reform is needed to increase competition and improve the operating for environmental regional power market integration is priority of Thailand, and also for the ASEAN country, and the government plan to invest in energy facility to encourage Thai business to expand to ASEAN neighboring country. At the end of this year, Thailand will have the second LNG terminal with a total capacity is about 19 MTPA. And for the view of my company, PTT have the national oil company. I would say PTT has a pay a role in the future energy, which ensure the security of energy in Thailand, and also for the ASEAN country with strategy ASEAN gas security, we will portfolio to serve the demand in Thailand and also in ASEAN regions, as well as to be real to accommodate the biggest challenge for the buyer during this. It would be high supply in the coming term contract. I think the ASEAN country, especially for the LNG in the longer term, aim to diversify to optimize our procurement strategy by procure from many sources to supplier, portfolio players, trader, and different formula index, including oil and gas link. PTT as national will support accelerate energy transitions for sustainable growth, and whereas the energy security and accessibility for Thailand and ASEAN region is our first priority. For the impact of regions, because near-term LNG gas demand growth in under pressure, we expect to be recovered in the medium term. High LNG spot per import price that I said before, that may be high for 3 years next, and this situation will weaken global economic outlook, dampen overall ASEAN gas demand growth. ASEAN markets most at least at demand rockets, given high spot LNG exposure and option for fuel switching to other fuels. However, high 20 temporarily boost domestic productions, but longer LNG demand falls after the year 2030. For LNG import plan in emerging markets, for example, for Philippines and Vietnam are at risk due to the high exposure of spot market. Average oil indexations have rebounded in the year in this year 2022, led by post-pandemic recovery and also European gas price indexation for the volume before the year 2026 are pushing up to maybe 12 to 15.5%. I think, in my opinion, after the year 2030, the shift away from coal dependency will drive gas demand growth. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for this, Anchana. Yeah, we already heard regarding natural gas. What about coal? Mr. Halim, perhaps you can give us some explanation regarding what is the current policy to ensure the coal supply in the future, as well as what is the price outlook regarding if we will have more import to the region.
All right, I'm going to share with everyone the experience from Malaysia regarding to coal security, because I cannot comment on other countries. So in case of Malaysia, due to the Russian-Ukraine conflict, we are reviewing the coal prices sold to our coal generators on a monthly basis. Just for your information, the coal prices for our generator is somehow regulated. So the prices are determined by a committee comprised of various government agencies, as well as our main coal supplier, Tenaga TNBF. We are also doing a review to enhance our existing coal procurement processes. This will allow more companies or coal participants, coal suppliers to participate in our tenders. We have also conducted a few trainings to potential coal suppliers so that they can participate in our future tenders, and also answer questions that they might have had regarding exporting to Malaysia, especially about the coal quality and our specifications for our power plants. We are also tightly monitoring the performance of our coal power plants to ensure that they are running smoothly and to avoid any unplanned shutdowns, for example, due to boiler tube leaks. And also we are currently studying the possibility of having a national coal stockpile to cushion the impact of high coal prices, as well as providing security of supply to the grid. However, based on our initial finding, to have a national coal stockpile the cost is quite prohibitive. And also, we recently organized a national level workshop on improving the security of electricity supply, and the discussion on coal and gas was one of the hot topics during the workshop. Last November, we also organized a national coal forum where industrial players were able to share their best practices and research projects for the betterment of the coal industry in Malaysia. This forum was also used as a platform for networking and pedestal for future collaborations opportunities between the players of coal in Malaysia, as well as potential regional collaboration. And finally, to reduce our reliance on fossil fuel, especially coal, we have also set targets to increase our renewable energy penetrations. But this has to be done very carefully because, for example, if we put in more solar to the grid without control, it will affect the grid stability. In terms of pricing, as I've mentioned earlier, we expect the coal price to stabilize in 2023 coming into 2024. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully the price is stabilized because now coal price is really high and indeed
Yes.
affect the electricity price as well, the society. So perhaps I will go to Dr. Joko. You have mentioned before regarding what the current condition in Europe and also in other regions. So what would be the lesson learned that we can actually take from outside region regarding how to maintain the natural gas security in this region?
Sorry. Yes. Hello. Excuse me. Sorry, Mr. Baskoro. Your voice I didn't hear. Can you repeat, please?
Sure. Yeah, you mentioned before about the condition in Europe regarding the natural gas supply, right? So I just would like to follow up. Are there any lessons learned from the policies that implemented in other regions that could we take from this region in regard to natural gas supply security?
Okay. Yes. Probably this is much more. I would like to touch upon more general problem of energy security in general. I think we can have a look back to two cases that we had. I think last year. So the first case is in Europe. So natural gas prices had been increasing a couple of months before the crisis of Russia and Ukraine taken place. So like by October or September 2021, natural gas prices had skyrocketed in Europe, and by that time, like October 2021, it has increased by 45 times, by 4.5 times with regard to the price earlier that year. And I think that several things happened that time in Europe. First of all, is the natural gas price that had been increasing due to the increase of demand as the COVID pandemic has been decreasing, and then the economic recovery has been starting in Europe. So the demand for electricity had been increasing, and the second one is that Europe had been one of the most progressive region in implementing decarbonization. And at the time, back to 2020, I think renewable electricity had been making the majority of power generated in Europe. But when when COVID pandemic started to decrease and economic recovery started to take place, they had difficulty to catch up with the increase of electricity demand. And at the time, I think due to the weather or for one of other reasons, the wind intensity dropped quite significantly in Europe. So at the same time as the natural gas was high, demand was high, and then supply of renewable electricity was not enough to meet the demand, and then Europe fell into a kind of crisis. So one of the causes that a lot of experts have been pointed out is the too aggressive strategy that Europe had been implementing. For example, like power plants in Europe had been obligated to take part of the emission trading. So while the renewable sources was slowly or fastly or relatively fastly growing in Europe, a lot of power plants choose to pay for the carbon pricing, for the carbon tax. And some experts have pointed out that this carbon tax, apart from the not enough capacity of renewable, had been one of the factors that has contributed to the increase of energy of especially electricity. But one lesson that we can learn is that even if we would like to go toward decarbonization, we need to consider always that fossil fuel are important, and that we should not get rid of coal and gas too fast. And I think in ASEAN or in Asian and other Asian countries, affordability should be one of the priority, and that way we can still maintain fossil fuel for 1 or 2 decades, so that we can have the decarbonization in parallel with the decommissioning of fossil fuels. And then the second case that we had is also Chinese case. It is not long ago. I think also the second half of last year, that we show in the news, or that China had been experiencing with some blackouts, and I guess those also were the case when coal production was not enough to catch up with the demand from the electricity demand of electricity due to the recovery of pandemic. So I think this is also mentioned. This is also show us the importance of keeping the balance between the decommissioning of fossil fuel and at the same time of policy measures implemented to decarbonize. That's all, I think.
Yes, I really agree that we have to balance the deployment of renewable energy and also the best out of the fossil fuel. Really good on that project. And Ali, do you have any other additional insight? What should the lesson learned that we can get, perhaps from Paul said, if there's any from your side?
Yeah, I think from my experience as modeler, what I have been, learned from the previous years is that to ensure energy security, it is actually about diversification in our energy mix. So when we're talking about energy transitions, we often talk about taking up renewables. Ideally, we would definitely want our energy mix to be zero emissions as possible, right? But when it comes to energy security, we must make sure that we had a variety of energy sources in our system, so that if one particular system, just like what Pajoko mentioned earlier, is lacking, that we are still have this another kind of resources that we can actually tap on to provide those energy demand that we might need. So I think, so in this regards, what I'm thinking is that when it comes to energy securities, aside from really tapping into and increasing the promotions of RE and making sure that we are implementing energy efficiency, that we actually embrace the fact that we are lacking really of natural gas resource and coal resource in our country. And if we are able to embrace this truth, we can actually now move forward onto ways that we can be able to manage it. Like, for example, in several countries, knowing that they are actually lacking natural gas or natural gas in the future, for example, they are actually committing into long-term contracts, supply contracts. And in that way, they can actually secure a more stable and low-cost prices for this fuel. And that is actually something that we can also adapt in a region, knowing that in the future, in the near future, we can actually lack with this kind of fuels that we have. But also that would be another way, but we must also have this other ways that we can tackle this problem, like for example, improving the availability of the domestic resources that we have, just like what Pajoko mentioned earlier. And I think that the major thing that we can do about energy security is really enhancing what is already inherent in our countries. Like, for example, in ASEAN, we have this resource of coal, we have this resource of natural gas that we cannot just develop due to lack of, for example, frameworks or regulations. And this is actually something that we can do as well as policymakers to help countries develop these frameworks and regulations, so that it would also de-risk the investment onto these facilities, and that in turn would actually help us develop more indigenous resource for coal and natural gas. And that should be in parallel with all of the transition efforts that the region should go through with these energy transitions. So I think that is my point, Mas.
Yes, thank you, Ali, for your insight on the lesson learned that we can get for other region. So I would like to also discussing about the current condition on the volatility of the price, particularly on natural gas. As we know, there's a petroleum boom that actually make the price of oil and gas increasing significantly. I would like to address this question to Pak Joko, to Dr. Joko. Is this petroleum boom, like volatility on price, is actually hinder the energy transition, meaning that we were triggered to deploy more revenue, or is it the opposite way? Like this actually hinder the development of renewable energy, and what would be the challenges on to actually get more investment of the energy security in the region? Dr. Joko.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Baskoro. Yeah, so I think petroleum boom to some extent have been the driver in the energy transition in ASEAN. As we can see, what is the easiest one to see is in transportation sector. So as the ASEAN Energy Outlook also in the ASEAN Energy Outlook also mentioned, is that the transportation will be the main sector that use oil until 2050 in the three scenarios, if I'm not mistaken. And I guess transportation sector is the one also that is currently beginning to experience a dramatic change from the gasoline and diesel fuel towards electrification. I think it is a good way, as long as the ASEAN member states increase also their pace to boost uptake of renewable electricity, because without having renewable electricity making the biggest share in the power generation, the penetration of EV impacts on reducing CO2 is negligible. And also for some producing country, we need also to make sure that automotive industry as well as battery industry are organized or are managed in the most sustainable way, with regards not only to employment or human resource, but also to natural resources and also to the electricity used to produce those elements. For example, in Indonesia, the production of nickel to be prepared as the second class or first class battery materials can be considered not to be as green as it should be, because it uses coal-based power generation at the moment. And we hope that this thing will change rapidly in the future. And then from the power sector, we see also some switching from the use of diesel power generation to gas fired. As I mentioned earlier, that Indonesia Ministry of Energy has promulgated a decree to switch from a diesel fired power plants to natural gas power plant in most of its remote area and islands. I think this kind of movement should also be followed by archipelago country like the Philippines, supported by optimized shipment of LNG. And then, yeah, we see also some discussion on how to make clean cooking more sustainable. For example, in the countries like Cambodia or Indonesia, clean cooking means to use LPG in stove LPG stove, and there have been some discussion to replace LPG, which is based on gasoline, with DME. For example, in Indonesia, DME, dimethyl ether, is from gasified coal. Of course, we need to look at how sustainable, what will be the impact of this switch from imported gasoline to gasified coal. And then also other option to have a clean cooking is, of course, to have distribution of natural gas pipelines. And what will be the challenge is, of course, the economic challenge. I mean, as we know that oil has been cheap in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but with the boom, oil has becoming very expensive. And but now still, like, the challenge is still there. If oil price is in general going up, but we see still some fluctuations in the short term, and this kind of fluctuation risk to drive still some development of technology that goes back into the use of oil. And that is the main challenge, because supply chain of oil distribution is there, gasoline or diesel fuel distribution are there, LPG as well, and we tend to use those what exists in the market already, and to go back to them once the price go down again. So I hope that we can see, not only in the short term but also in the long term, how oil or fuel price will just go up, and that the short term fluctuation of decrease should not be considered as a price signal. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Jokoro. Yes, it's important to have understand the current condition of petroleum that somehow could impact the price of the oil itself. And I will go to talking more on coal as well after natural gas. Yes, as coal is considered as the most emitter for producing electricity. Just wondering what will be the future of coal, considering there's many countries already committed to phase out the coal power plant in this region. Mr. Harvey.
All right, as what I have said earlier and what has been shown in the ASEAN Energy Outlook, coal still has a future in ASEAN. Even though we are in energy transition period, we cannot afford to stop using coal abruptly, as it would affect the livelihood, the economics, and also the energy securities of the AMS. However, we need to recognize that every pathway that avoids severe impact from climate change involves early and significant reductions in coal-related emissions. Coal transitions require a special focus because of the high emission intensity. What ASEAN or the AMS needs, in my opinion, is a comprehensive integrated policies addressing emissions from all sources that are essential for climate action, not just for coal. But that is my opinion.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Helmi, explaining about the coal future, this region. So I think, thank you very much for all the answer. Now we are in the Q&A session, so I will pick one question from floor because there's a limit on time for the time. So I will only take one question from the floor. Yes, I think there is a question regarding the utilization of coal and gas in this region. Since the coal is the GSG contributor and also the methane emission and also natural gas emit methane. So why does ASEAN is still finding way to keep the using coal and gas instead of developing renewable energy? I think it's only I think you can answer this question. Can I address? Can I give you question?
Can you please repeat the final 30-second mas? Quite tricky.
Yes, why ASEAN still finding a way on natural coal on using natural gas and coal instead of developing renewable energy in the region? Yeah, I will repeat again. Why does the ASEAN is still finding ways to keep on using coal and gas instead of developing renewable energy? Yeah, that's the question.
Okay, so first that I think that is also like a crucial thing that we in general in this session has been also like telling bit by bit that to make sure that we can actually not just ensure the energy security, we also need to ensure the energy affordability. We need also to ensure the environmental sustainability of the region, and to be able to actually make sure that at least all of those three aspects is met, that we should really need to tap on the available resources in the region, to tap on with what is available to us, to make sure that everyone can actually have the energy that they require to proceed with their economic growth targets and such. So as mentioned also by Mr. Zaihan earlier, that even though we are still like using coal for energy transitions, that we are actually working towards into making sure that the usage of coal would be would be cleaner, that we are really like looking into technologies like CCS and like, for example, in natural gas, the conversion into the use of hydrogen in industries. We are doing those type of efforts in such a way that we can still ensure that the resource were diversified, as that's the one that I've mentioned, and we make sure that there are still enough energy for all to be able to supply our demand. So that's.
Yeah, I think it's answered the question. Okay, with the limited time that we have, I think one last question from my side will be it is for all panels here. So in general, how ASEAN member states could work together in maintaining the energy security in the region, and if there's any crucial insight that you mentioned before that not been mentioned before. So what ASEAN could do actually to maintain the energy security in the future. I think I will start from Ms. Anjana.
Yes, thank you. On behalf of ASCOPE Gas Advocacy and also for PTT Thailand, I would like to increase the ASEAN on energy security. I would like to propose collaborations among ASEAN member countries in many activities. For example, we could sharing or set framework to use among the ASEAN. So we have some core activity, for example, LNG for power, LNG.
Ms. Anjana, sorry, we lost your voice. Could you repeat again?
Okay. I sorry. I will propose the ASEAN to propose the collaborations among example of sharing or setting the pricing framework together and also including, for example, LNG coal buyer for some many countries that have import LNG to increasing and maybe LNG import price to the lower than this period, and because it may increase the bargaining power in the market, and also some collaboration, for example, some LNG infrastructure co-use for in case for some country or some country might have a shortage, LNG shortage. Maybe we have sharing or using for the LNG facility, for example, or we can make bulk LNG from Mataput LNG terminal from Thailand to some country, or for example, to Philippines or to Vietnam or to other countries that don't have the LNG supply enough for power generations. Yes, and also other business collaboration that to be put our ASEAN to be like a ASEAN LNG hub to increase the flexibility, and also some collaborations to be successful in the ASEAN markets. Yeah, for my view.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anchana, regarding the ideas to have a collaboration within ASEAN member state. So perhaps I would like to go to Alvin, Ms. Alvin, more. What will be the collaboration that ASEAN countries need to have in the future?
Yeah, I think Mas Adit, that these concerns on energy security is actually one of the core reasons why we had actually established ASEAN Center for Energy, right? We have established AFOC, we have established ASCOPE, we have established the collaborations that we had with ASEAN member states. It's also like provide us a platform that we can actually share what has been the best practices, what has been our lessons learned into not just on the existing technology, but especially on the emerging technologies, because as we know, the ASEAN as a region is really diverse, that we had regions that can actually act as a first implementer of certain emerging technologies, and it has actually been helpful that those first implementer can actually help as well other AMS that could take time to adopt some practices. So when it comes to energy security, I'm looking at the importance of energy cooperations into sharing, particularly at least at the short term, how we can actually improve the energy efficiency, because as we all know, and if we can reduce actually our consumptions of fuel, we can also enhance the security of our system. But in the medium term, I am looking that the importance of energy cooperation onto the adoptions of these emerging technologies, making use of available resources into our regions and use them in a cleaner way. So yeah, I think that's from my part, Mas.
Yes, thank you for sharing your opinion on collaboration that need to have that will happen in this region. So panelists, I will pass the same question to Dr. Joko. What collaboration that ASEAN should have?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Baskoro. So I've mentioned already in the discussion previously that ASEAN need to have internal discussion between producers and consumers with regard to investment in LNG. So this will relieve consumers' financial burden to develop infrastructure. Well, at the same time, this will also ensure demand continuity for producing countries. And the second plan is to have a dialogue between ASEAN and outside the ASEAN LNG or natural gas producing countries. Yeah, I mean, like we need to talk and to bring the concern of developing countries, not only ASEAN but also all developing regions. For example, to develop an emergency plan to kind of rerouting the LNG cargoes that has been going to the world region with the most purchasing power, and this has deprived countries like emerging Asian countries or developing ASEAN countries. And then to have also diplomacy to optimize LNG cargo destination by taking advantage of kind of specific contractual agreements led by exporting countries and supported by ASEAN. And the last thing that I would like to propose is that ASEAN can also bring the idea of establishing a universally accessible real-time information platform on natural gas trade. This will give a kind of transparent and accessible information for all stakeholders and players in natural gas market. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Joko, for the suggestion. And lastly, Mr. Helmi Zehan, for your suggestion on collaboration in ASEAN.
In my opinion, ASEAN should enhance or focus on integrating the national power system of its 10 member states to enable the ASEAN power trade. Based on, I think, a study from ACE, I'm not sure when, but this study states that ASEAN could reduce 154 megawatt of additional power capacity that helps that can be reduced without having to install more power plants. For example, if we have this integrated ASEAN power trade. And finally, what we can work on is that maybe we could have a similar framework to the ASEAN integrated food security framework. This one is the framework to ensure that ASEAN has enough food for its members. So maybe we can use a similar framework for energy security. But I think the most important thing that we need to do is to have this ASEAN power trade between all its member states. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Helmi. Yes, ASEAN, we do have a current project on ASEAN interconnection project. Yeah, we are keep doing the project, and still in the next year we will also have another specific project on that. Okay, thank you very much to all panelists. I think we are already in the end of the session. I'm really happy that we have a fruitful discussion today. Thank you very much for your time to join in the session. It's really nice to have this discussion with all of you with your expertise and talking on the security of future natural gas and coal in this region. Thank you very much for everyone. So I would like to pass this floor to the MC Amira. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adityo. It's been a pleasure. And thank you so much for all panelists that has been giving us an insightful insightful recommendations as well on how ASEAN should actually move forward and navigate their policy recommendations and policy practices. So that's the end of our today's webinar sessions. I hope that everyone here that has been attending this session this afternoon could actually have a new knowledge and then some highlights as well. So allow me, can you please next this slide, please? I would like to just remind you once more that AEO7 is actually free to download. We also provided the executive summary. So just go to the go.aseanenergy.org/AEO7 and then go.aseanenergy.org/AEO7 Exum for the executive summary. And without further ado, I would like to thank all of panelists and then all of people that has been involved, including the participants. And see you next time on the next event. We will have the webinar series like this continuing as well on approximately at the end of January 2023, talking about policy planning and then the modeling side. And that's all. Thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. See you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
ASEAN Center for Energy presents the 7th edition of ASEAN Energy Outlook or AEO7. It complements the APAEC by creating pathways to achieve regional energy targets. This blueprint consists of 7 program areas, which represents the key focus areas of the ASEAN energy sector. Over the years, ASEAN Energy Outlook has evolved to be truly from ASEAN, by ASEAN, to ASEAN. As it incorporates major involvement from all 10 ASEAN member states in every process, AEO7 serves as an official reference for the ASEAN energy landscape. This year, AEO7 features these 4 scenarios. Introducing the latest edition, the Least Cost Optimisation scenario with a technology-neutral approach as it considers all the viable technologies in the region. It also explores ASEAN power grid and battery deployment. Some highlighted findings include renewable share in total primary energy supply is predicted to reach 17.5% by 2025 in ATS, requiring extra efforts to reach regional targets. And energy efficiency is projected to continue its good progress. But with 2.8% point gap from ATS to regional target still needs to be addressed, while renewable share in installed capacity is expected to outperform the 2025 target by 2.9%, even reaching 63.2% in 2050. Moreover, the region will be requiring 160 billion USD power investment to reach the APAEC target by 2025. Reducing the emission up to 26%. While LCO scenario consistently generate the lowest cost. The outlook also offers various secondary analysis to achieve the regional target and delve into options for strengthening ASEAN's energy resiliency as follows. With everything in one place, AEO7 keeps the region on track by projecting multiple future trajectories against our goal. To learn more about ASEAN Energy Outlook series, please visit our website at aseanenergy.org.